Have you ever seen the Ace of Spades used as a divining rod to locate certain cards or to answer important questions? Well, that's what we're doing today. And in fact, the question that we're going to try to answer is the following. Who makes a more effective leader, a king or a queen in a monarchy? Okay, so I'm going to gather up the kings and place our divining rod right in the middle between the king and queens. That way there's no inherent bias from the start. Now, if you were here, I would have you make all of the important decisions regarding randomizing these cards. But since you're not here, I'm going to have to make those decisions for you. So first off, I'm going to begin dealing the cards until ideally you would say stop. Okay, stop there. Okay, stop there. Okay, very good. We'll stack from right to left to really scramble these cards. Why don't we do one more of those? Stop there. There, that's fine. Okay. Stop there. Okay, very good. Stack from right to left. That's just wonderful. Okay, so once again, the question that we're trying to answer is, who wields the real, R-E-A-L, power, P-O-W-E-R, in a monarchy? Is it the king, K-I-N-G, or the queen, Q-U-E-E-N? Okay, so to answer that question, we're going to have to just randomize the cards and let the universe guide us to the right answer. Okay, so that's beginning to mix the cards. In fact, another way to frame our question is to simply ask, who's over, O-V-E-R, who? Who's really the boss, the king or the queen? Well, the two of us working together will discover that. But first, you need to make the most important decision. For our final randomization of the cards, should we perform an over-under or an under-over shuffle? In other words, do you think the king is over or under the queen? You think the king is under the queen? Is that right? Okay. So that makes the queen the boss, right? You understand what you're saying? Okay. So the queen is the most effective monarch. Okay. So the king is under the queen. So we'll do an under-over. Under-over, 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 under-over. Okay. Very, very good. So what we need to do now is, I have a rather difficult task. I have to do a couple of things. I have to find the divining rod first, somewhere in here, and then use it to locate the cards that will help us answer who is truly the more effective monarch, a king or a queen. Now, traditionally, a way to do this is to perform a Klondike shuffle of pairs until only one card remains in your hand. And the hope is that this is indeed the divining rod. And if it isn't, none of this is going to work correctly. Okay, so I'm just hoping this is the Ace of Spades. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to divine like where, which of these two is the more powerful, effective leader in a monarchy. Okay, a king or a queen. Okay, I'm feeling like it's the top one. Oh, there you go. Okay, queen. Isn't that what you said? You said the queen would be the boss, right? The more effective. How about this one? I was pointing down. I think that means it's the bottom one. So why don't we go all the way underneath and just flip it? Oh, look at that. Yes, yes, yes. What about our... wait a second. I'm getting kind of mixed. Can't tell over there right now. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yep. It's the card above. I can feel that. So let's check that here. Yes! Yes! Okay, this one gave me some difficulty. I was getting a reading of down below or this top card, and I couldn't really tell. No. It's wanting to go down below. I think it's the lower one. That's what the universe is telling us here. Oh, look at that. We found all 4 queens. And the queen is what you said you believe to be the more effective leader in any monarchy. Wow. Well, I guess we still have one more question to answer. Am I actually holding the divining rod, or has the placebo effect helped me find the answer nonetheless? Let's find out. Oh, I did. Okay, I wasn't imagining. I was getting worried that I was having these delusions, that I was sensing things that actually aren't there. But no, I was holding the divining rod, and I could feel it directing me to the right answer. And that answer agrees with yours. Wow, you are amazing, and this divining rod is amazing. Okay, so that is the effect. So let's go ahead and kind of step through it and explain a little bit of what's going on. We won't explain all of it, as we've talked about in these 9-chord magic effects. A full explanation of the mathematics may come later. Okay, so this is kind of where we started. Okay, so how can you do this right away? Well, you can follow the narrative that I gave you. That works just great. We're going to use the ace of spades as a divining rod, okay? And to find the answer to the question, who is the more effective monarch, a king or a queen, okay? And then I gathered up the kings, okay, and put the ace in the middle and the queens on top. Now that actually doesn't matter. The block, the kings could have been on top, queens on the bottom, or vice versa. Okay, so that actually doesn't matter. But okay, and then I turned it over, and then what I did is I performed something called the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. This is where you just begin dealing out until the spectator says stop, and then you go on to the next pile, and then you stack in opposite order, okay? And that's inherent in the name because it's called first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So that just means stack in the opposite order to which they were dealt. Now, if you do that twice, it returns the packet to its original order, because each one of those first shall be last, last shall be first is a packet reversal. Well, if you reverse a packet twice, it brings it back to its original order. Now, it ends up you could have done any number of those because it wouldn't matter if we did reverse the packet. It would not hurt anything that's coming, by the way. So that's kind of interesting. So you could continue to perform those until the spectator says, okay, I think we've mixed the chords sufficiently. But in the performance, I did 2 of them, and 2 of those is equivalent to leaving the packet alone, the identity function, actually. Okay, and then from there, what we said was, well, we're trying to find out who wields the real R-E-A-L power, P-O-W-E-R, okay? Now, performing those 2 together with the next 2 constitute what's called a quad, off-centered overcoding. So after this, I said, is it the king, K-I-N-G, or is it the queen, Q-U-E-E-N? Okay, so if you think about it, the word real has 4 letters, the word power has 5, the word king has 4 letters, and the word queen has 5. Now, spelling out those words where you have 4 letters, 5 letters, 4 letters, and then 5 letters, that constitutes a quad off-centered overcoding. Okay, and that's something that's talked about on my channel. Well, those 4 dealing outs also leave the packet just the way it is. I'll just show you. We haven't changed anything yet. Even though we did this first shall be last, last shall be first, did a couple of those, and then we spelled out real, power, and then is it the king or queen? None of that changed the order of anything yet. Okay, pretty darn amazing. Okay, but now the order is going to begin to get scrambled, genuinely now. Okay, and so then what I did was I said, well, we need to really randomize these cards so that the universe plays a part in this. So I did this triangle deal, and then the thing to remember is just stack in the same order in which you dealt them. Okay, so that works just great. Okay, now at this point, the packet, and so for those who have learned about Bessey sequences, in fact here I'm probably explaining more than I was hoping to, but if you've watched videos on Bessey sequences, that's that 10010110, you'll recognize that structure and that it envelops our little ace of spades. Okay, so that's kind of curious, but that's important actually. So that may come out in the tutorial in the future. Okay, so that's an important structure there. And then from there, I did one final spelling. I said, okay, another way to frame our earlier question is to ask the question, who is over, O-V-E-R, who? So who is over who? Who's really the boss, the king or the queen? Okay? And then I said, well, the two of us working together will discover the answer. But first, you need to make a very important decision. For our final randomization, should we perform an over-under or an under-over shuffle? Do you think the king is over or under the queen in his leadership abilities? Okay? And I believe you said the king is under the queen, meaning the queen is superior. Okay? So king is under, so I did an under. So an under-over is where you push off the top card, and then the next one goes under, next one goes over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Now it ends up that if we had done an over-under, it would not have undermined the structure of this packet. So either one, of course, is safe to use. Otherwise, I would not have given you those options. But you stated that you believe the queen was superior. So the king is, quote, under the queen in that assessment of his leadership abilities. And then you may not have caught this. What I did next was I kind of tapped the cards on the table, and what it did was it gave me a glimpse of the bottom card. Okay, so the king is on the bottom. Okay, so now that told me something very important. It tells me actually the location of all of the kings and all of the queens. Just that one piece of information, I know where all of them are now. Okay, so I may give you a glimpse into why that's true. Okay, so I see a king here. So remember, king's on the bottom. Well, I then said to I said, we next need to find our divining rod. Okay, that's the ace of spades. And I said, well, a very good way of doing that is to perform a Klondike shuffle. Klondike shuffle pairs to the table. Well, first off, notice something here. That king that we spotted, a Klondike shuffle, is drawn off first. It's on the bottom. And then I did another pair. And then I did another pair. And then I did another pair. And that leaves a single card here. Now, the single card will be the ace of spades. It will be. You don't have to worry about it. I made it out that I don't know for sure, but we'll see if it's effective in helping us find the answer here to this question. So the only thing you need to remember here, I'll just go ahead and tell you what the structure is. Now, we know the king's down here. We saw that. Okay? So what will happen, let me just tell you what will happen. So I'm just kind of putting these so we can see the top and the bottom. What will be the case, the bottom one's the king. What will be the case is these two here on top will be kings, and the bottom one over here will be a king. So in other words, if this is a king here, which it is, the bottom one over here is guaranteed to be a king, and then the other two kings are on top. Okay? That will always happen if you see a king down here. Now, if you happen to have seen a queen down there when we got to that point, it would mean the same sort of thing. If that's a queen, this one at the bottom is a queen, and these two top ones are queens. Okay? So if you can kind of picture that in your mind's eye. So just having one piece of information namely the bottom card of that original packet of 9 cards before we started the Klondike Shuffle, reveals everything as far as where the kings and queens are. And so now I can just pick up my supposed divining rod and kind of pretend that it's helping me locate the queens or whatever. Now we know the queens right there. And then remember, the king's at the bottom, 2 kings on the top, king at the bottom. That means the queen's right here. Whoop. And there's another. Whoop, sorry, I just said that wrong. These are kings. The queen's on the bottom, right? Probably not a great way to do it, especially on the piece of paper. And then the queens are on the bottom. And then this top one is a queen. Okay? If I put together a more detailed tutorial for these 9 card magic effects, that should help fill in some of the gaps that you may have in your understanding of exactly what's going on. Thank you for watching, and take a look at some of the other videos on the Hidden Structures channel.